All right, good afternoon. Exactly 12:36 on the clock. It is time for Parenting Today. And as always, Parenting Today seeks to promote, family well-being alongside doing parenting the right way. So many things have changed and so many others will change over time. And that is why Parenting Today seeks to inform us when it comes to the expertise as regards family management, how to have a family that thrives and to raise the best individuals who are children and would become adults. Now, today we're going to be doing something very special for the family. I feel like finances cannot be overemphasized when it comes to, just family wellness. And today's topic is how to plan financially for the future, including education. But you know what? I'm not going to be doing this alone. I'm here with an amazing guest, someone I believe is going to be making this a walk in the park. Now, if you're trying to figure out who I'm talking about, with me here, I have Miss Jane Obioha, FCCA. Now, she is a chartered accountant who heads the finance department of Herconomy Limited, which is a fintech saving platform. With a wealth of over 12 years worth of experience in finance, operations, and business management, she ensures that financial operations of different organizations are in order while still engaging in the strategic development of the organization by ensuring policies and procedures needed to run the department and organization at large are all in place. Now, she has also worked with information technology companies, law firms, public relations in the areas of finance and business operations, where she gained the required experience. Just a little background on her. Now, she is an alumnus of the University of Abuja and a fellow of the Association of Chartered Certified Accountants, FCCA. And also, she's a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, known as ICANN, with leadership courses on business strategy from Coursera. She's passionate about women and their growth, and she advocates for more women to be career and business oriented. Also, she's a member of the ACCA Women Network of Nigeria and a fitness enthusiast committed to always bringing about magic when it comes to the things she believes in. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you? It's great to have you. All right. How was your commute here? Was it crazy? Was it nice?
It was a bit of a challenge because of the fuel scarcity.
But you good.
Yeah.
You look pretty. You don't look like you were put off by anything.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Now, Miss Jane, I want to ask you, when it comes to planning financially for the future, which includes education, the word finance is ambiguous, but when you talk of education these days, it's also ambiguous. What do we need to know when it comes to making financial plans for the future, which should also include education? Bearing in mind that everyone wants their children to have the best quality of education.
Thank you very much. So one of the first things I want to say is that you can never have enough. There's nothing that you have that is okay, or I have everything that I need at the same time. So one of the things that are important in finance is planning. You cannot move a needle without planning. The challenge with earning so much, if you earn well, is the fact that there are a lot of bills that will also match the same earnings that you do. So if you're earning very well, you would not live in some places. You would want to maybe live closer to where you work. And that could mean that you will spend more on rent and a couple of other bills. Now, education cannot, you cannot look at it as something that is not important. It is very critical. Very, very. One of the things that we advise, even for where we work, or where I currently work, is having target savings. When I say target savings, what I mean is, okay, I want my child to school at this very wonderful school. It has the kind of curriculum that I like. The question is, how much is it? Is it something that you're able to carry at once, or something that you can plan towards? And so for some cases where you want them to even study abroad, so you need to look at it from a point of view where you want to save every month towards that goal. You can't wake up and say, oh, I want to go do this, unless you have unlimited supply of funds, which I know a good number of persons don't have, unless you belong to the 1% of the 1%. So it is very important for education planning to ensure that you prioritize your spend, knowing what your needs are and wants.
Needs and wants. Knowing the difference. So
needs are very important things that you need to get done. Very important. Basics. Wants. I want luxury. Yes, luxury. I want to do my facials, but the extras.
That's important.
It is, but that's why I said prioritize.
I'm joking. No, I was trying to make you.
It is. That's why I said prioritize. So you could, when you have the extras, you'd plug it in. But when you're talking about education, as you register them in school, you will begin to appreciate that sometimes they come before you in terms of what their needs are. Being that, for instance, school is resuming in a week's time, right? And there's a school fees payment, there's payment for books, new school uniforms. You cannot start planning in August or July.
True.
You can't.
You have to plan ahead.
Yes. And then for those that are in higher institutions as well, you always need to know these things ahead of time and then plan towards it. So having financial plans, making budgets for things, especially with your earnings. If you earn 100,000, you need to plan, even if you want to put your child in a school of 500,000 per term. So those things it's not like you cannot afford it or you cannot try, depending on what your spend is. It's all for you to factor in. This is what I want to do. This is what I can do. And the ones, like I talked about, wants that are not so important. So if I wanted to go do facials, I could postpone, I could reschedule for a later time in the year, maybe October, November, when the pressure to pay school fees is not there.
Gone. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. These are the words of Miss Jane Obioha. Now, ma'am, I want to ask you, when it comes to financial plan, I know that you've mentioned, the necessities against the luxuries, the wants, the needs and the wants. But what should an ideal financial plan look like? If you're maybe, let's say, a family of 4, a man, a wife, and 2 children, because more people are looking to have your baby. What should the ideal, what should be the basis of formulating a financial plan, one that would do well in the family?
Okay, so the first thing for me is understanding what your earnings are, your income. Okay. Both of you.
Maybe both are earning.
Or one person, depending.
Okay.
But you must first of all understand what your earnings are in a month. If you are the type that is a salary earner, or you have a side hustle on the side, or you're a business person. So for business persons or for entrepreneurs, they're not like salary earners that you say, okay, you're sure that at the end of the month you get your salary paid. So they work with what they sell. And so for every time they make a sale, they can decide to set aside a certain amount of money. Now, one of the important things if you're planning financially is to ensure that you draw up what you need to do as a couple. You already have kids, 2, 3, 4, depending. You need to know what you're spending on each of that child. So some might be in primary school,
others in secondary,
maybe one in the tertiary institution. You need to now look at it from a point of view, how much am I paying for this? How much? And if you are in a joint household where both of you earn, it becomes a little bit easier to talk and
as
agree.
Opposed to a single person.
As opposed to a single person. It's not like there are no single parents out there who are really doing so well, trying so well. It's not usually very easy. But the bottom line is planning. So whatever that you want to do, you can start up with saying, this is what I earn every month. I want to set aside a portion of my earnings, let's say 20%. If you're earning 100,000, that's about 20,000, depending on what works for you, because you also need to consider that you need to eat. You need to pay bills. Yes, I know in this part of the world, we do annual payments for rent, but you can actually plan towards it as well. So for education, the importance cannot be, overemphasized. We keep talking about it, why we need to have things like target savings, where you say, I want to save towards this goal in the next 6 months. And so that's why even the organization where I work, we have such products available tailored to suit the kind of savings that you want to do.
Okay, so basically, I bring my money to you and I say, oh, I want to start saving for my son, my daughter's college, and I want them to school overseas.
Yeah.
And maybe now they're still in primary schools. Is it a little too early? When do we start planning? Do we even plan before we have this children?
Yes, you can plan before you have them. There's nothing wrong with it. It's money. It's never enough. And so the wonderful thing is, even if you don't have kids now, you can save towards when you have kids. Because bear in mind that aside from just the education, if you don't have a child now and you plan to have a child in a year's time, you're going to get pregnant and eventually deliver.
Of course.
Right? And so the challenge becomes, even at the point of delivery costs, baby's clothing.
Diaper.
We're not talking about education.
Food.
Of course, there's crèche, and that's education as well. So by the time you need to get back to work, you need to put baby somewhere.
True.
And it's not free. And so it's a systematic planning. You need to be conscious about it. You need to be totally involved with it for it to even for you to make a headway with the planned savings or the planned amount that you plan on saving.
Okay, so I want to ask, when it comes to saving, do we use a certain percentage? Like, what's the factor for saving? Do we say like 10% goes to this, 15%, or should we just put as we wish? You know, some people are business owners, right? And so they don't earn a steady income. What should be the appropriate, maybe percentage of their earnings that they can sequester for other things?
Well, we could argue for, if you can, up to 30%, 40%, if you can.
Okay.
But realistically, in the part of the world where we are, with the kind of bills we have, inflation, you're not able to buy the same set of things that you bought a year ago. So 30% may not be feasible, right? Okay. So we walk around 20.
Yeah, 20 is decent.
20 is good. Sometimes 10. If you have an extended family as well, who you care for, like, you have an aged mom or dad, you will as well key them in. So why, for me, I think it tilts between 15 to 20%, if possible. Now, for business or for entrepreneurs that do not earn salary, and it's based on what they sell. So every time you sell, you know what you've earned from that sale, which is what your profit is. Because, selling is just, I sold a product of 100 naira. That doesn't mean the whole 100 naira is your money. You need to pay back your vendors.
True.
What you've earned from there, you can set aside either daily savings.
Okay.
Yeah. You can set a direct debit instruction to debit you as little as 1,000 naira every day.
Oh, really?
As little, yes. And the organization that I work, we have all this, you have all that set up. So you don't go through a lot of stress with, when do I need to go to the bank, when can I transfer, plan, and the rest of it. Important thing is that once you have activated a direct debit on your account every day, that happens. You can also increase as your income or as your earnings grow.
Wow. So you just tailor it to the person's income.
Yes.
Well, is it possible for people who feel like, maybe someone who's listening now says, I have a salary that's just enough to cover my bills for the month. So I'm left with little to nothing after, payday and a few days to the next month. They're looking for money. What would you advise such person?
Okay, so what I will advise is go through your expenses again, because what you're talking about now is the fact that I've spent so much and I have very little or
I'm
nothing.
left with little, or nothing to say.
The most important thing to do is to sit down and critically assess what your expenses are and see if there are some that you can further reduce. Let me give an instance. Rather than do takeout, you could cook
at home,
right? So you already factor in, if you're working, if you're a salary earner, you already factor in what you spend in a month in terms of transportation, logistics, feeding and all that. So by the time you're looking at it, feeding wise, you could say, okay, I'm having to buy food every day at 5,000 naira minimum, or very decent ones, maybe 3,000. If I decide to bring my own food, I might have a little savings around here. And as small as it looks,
it would grow.
It will grow. So it's the setting aside that matters. And you need to be financially disciplined. And
That's
so
the word.
every time you see a very lovely looking young woman out there with very nice hair made and a dress, and then you want to say, oh, where did you get this? And then the person says, I got it from this shop, and you want to quickly go spend. It's a wonderful thing, it's good to take care of yourself. But when you remember as well that you have set out a particular target of something that you want to do, maybe we can reschedule the buying of the clothes or the hair at a much later time.
Because it's a want, it's not a need.
Yes. And the wonderful thing or the funny thing is that by the time you buy this very nice clothes today, tomorrow you see another nicer cloth. So
it's never going to end.
It's never going to end. So what I would advise is discipline. It's very critical.
Okay. Thank you so much, Miss Jane Obioha. You just heard the words from Miss Jane. I want to ask, let's take it to the home once again. When it comes to, a team, all right, a team, a man and a woman doing it together, right? So basically, the man is probably earning way higher, or he's a business owner. And the woman, she's a salary earner. Should they contribute the same percentage or the same amounts, or in accordance to, with their earnings, their salary, whatever it is? Because a man who's a business owner may be able to draw in a net profit per month of maybe 10 million, and he's ready to save as much as 3 million. But a woman who's earning maybe $1 million might not be able to contribute as much. What would you advise them? Should there be a disparity?
Okay, so what I would advise is, first of all, is communication.
Okay, so
it's very important. Why I say communication is we need to lay our cards on the table.
Both parties should lay their earnings.
This is what I'm earning. I'm not able to do as much as, and you're earning this. And I think you can, right? So one of the challenges we have as well is someone can earn so much and not have a good plan around his or her earnings. So you could be a business person who has so much money than even your wife, and you're not able to itemize what you've done with the funds at the end of every month, and somehow you're left with nothing. So those cases and scenarios exist. So for me, because each couple, there are peculiarities around each married personality. And so if I sit here and I say, oh, let's do 50-50, it may not necessarily work. And so there's something called black tax as well, where you need to take care of your extended family members and your brothers, your sisters. All this is centered around communicating well. Oh, while I can do this certain percentage, I'm not able to do so much more.
Or to go past this.
Because, for instance, I have an aged mom who has medication that she takes, and it's important for me to get these things for her. So it's important. Communication is key, and sitting down as couple to plan what works. I could say 40%, 30%, but that's for me. It might not work for the next person.
Especially if, the income may not be as buoyant as well. Thank you so much. So I want to know if very quickly you can give us some words of advice. Let's say you're speaking to a group of persons who earn less than 100,000 naira or 100,000 naira below. Such persons might argue that in Nigeria today, they're left with little to nothing. Considering logistics, upkeep, family, what would you advise that person when it comes to just having to create a plan, irrespective of whatever, reason might be too big, you're amplifying?
Okay, so we first thing that I would say is, while I understand that, an earning of 100,000 is so small, there's the important thing about, when I talk about discipline, is important to have that. Now, you need to now prioritize what you want or what you spend every month. As small as food is important, for instance. Now, what you now need to do is, the markets that I go to get this food, can I get it elsewhere cheaper? So sometimes if you want to do monthly shopping, you need to go into the villages or something. it's not because everybody just wants to go to this. It's not really village per se. I could say maybe some local government, right?
Okay.
And the reason is because if I'm going to buy pepper on the road, 100 naira, I'm sure maybe if I go in, I can get it 50.
So you should try to scout for a great deal.
Better deal, if possible. Unfortunately, I can also advise to consider multiple streams of income
to generate income.
What can you do aside earning 100,000 every month? You could decide to maybe there are volunteer jobs that are not well paying but manageable. If for a lady, usher jobs, anything that does not affect your current
or even
work.
Maybe just producing a drink or a snack or baking or something.
If okay, so there's this thing where if you belong in communities in the church, there's always someone that has need for something. So if it is to be personal shoppers for some career women who don't have time to go to the market, you could decide to engage in that venture and make side urgent 2K, like we always say. It's not as small as you think. By the time you make urgent 2K across 10 people, that's 20,000. So everybody that you're running these errands for gives you 2,000. Do you understand? And then 2,000 times 10 is 20,000. If it grows bigger than that, it could be 40,000. So it means that you're channeling the weekends that you have to better use and earning much more. And so the additional income could solve the problem of having the target savings, or even sorting out additional issues that may arise in the course of the month.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Jane Obioha. Really great. It's always amazing. Thank you for breaking down the need and, why we need to have a financial plan, especially when it comes to education. Very quickly before we go, for those who are setting money aside for their children right now, if you have any words of encouragement, do you want to make it known?
Okay, so one of the things that I want to say is no matter how small, right, just be consistent. Consistency is key, no matter how small. And as a final word, the organization that I work for, we have all these products available and tailored to suit your different needs. Thank you.
So it's the products are they're custom made to fit the individual.
Yes.
Who's requiring the service. Great.
Yes.
All right. For those who might want to, reach out to you via social media, maybe find out one or two things, answers to questions they might have, how can they possibly do this?
Okay. So I'm on LinkedIn.
Okay.
As Jane Obioha.
Okay.
Right. And I'm on Instagram, although private. Not that my page is private, but I just mostly have fun on that part and just post family pictures and just say hi to everyone. And then I'm on Twitter at Jane Buchi, and we can take the conversation up from there.
All right. Thank you so much. Really, really pleasurable time we had here. Thank you, Ms. Jane Obioha, FCCA, who came here to tell us the need and how to strategically bring up a financial saving plan, one that will contribute to the future of your child's education.